Hello internet friends. In my quest to play various MMOs over the past week or two, which I hope is going to be a long-term project, I've been forced to confront the idea that something I've been leery about for years might not be such a bad thing, and that's free-to-play games. A lot of MMOs have a free-to-play model these days, and I'm still of the mindset that this is not necessarily a good thing. I remember I was playing EQ2 at the time when its free-to-play model came in, and when you logged into that game, you were confronted by a splash screen that encouraged you to buy something straight away when you went into that game. I was in the early stages following very closely. I had a podcast at the time all about Star Wars: The Old Republic, and the developers of that game were adamant that this is a subscription. We are not going to need a free-to-play model. People are going to desire to play this game so greatly that we don't need anything like that. They'll pay a sub. So I'm coming from that place where free-to-play is a bad idea. But I came up with this mission for myself, which is to play many MMOs. And I thought, how can I possibly do this? Because to experience all these games, I'm going to have to play a subscription. Each one has a $15 subscription, whatever it may be. How can I cover multiple MMOs? I hadn't realized in the intervening years that free-to-play has become something almost every single MMO has. So you can dip into these games at your leisure. Also, they've become much less annoying and potentially, what would you say, manipulative of the player. There are still many barriers. I'm not naive enough to think that these games, you can play the entirety of them and not pay a dime. You couldn't support that as a business, for one thing. And actually, as a gamer, I feel like I want to support companies when they say play our game for free and just pay what you like. That makes me want to pay. I'm also not naive enough to think that it can't be and isn't being abused. It totally is in certain cases. If you look at the recent World of Warships, the controversy to do with that, right up by Braxwolf from Massively, all about what's happened there, taking one of the ships that people desire in that game and have wanted for a long time and making it instead of being able to buy it, they have to buy a loot box, which gives them a random chance of getting the ship. So, within the free-to-play model, I think there's a lot of opportunity for abuse. And we're all, I think, pretty aware of that. What I have realized is that there are many benefits to it, not least in this present thing that I want to do, which is to try all kinds of different games. At some point in the past, you stopped being able to demo games. On Steam, most single-player games don't have an option to try the game before you buy. I'm a PC gamer, so I don't do a lot of trading in of old physical copies. I don't think anyone, even if you're a console gamer, do people still do that, where you go and trade in your old copies or maybe rent a title from the local game store? That doesn't seem to happen anymore. So at some point, demoing went away, and what free-to-play seems to be doing for me is allowing me to demo a ton of games. Multiplayer games, MMOs, sure, maybe I can't do it with single player, but it's allowing me to do it. As someone who creates content online, for instance, how can I cover many different MMOs? I don't make any money doing this, so where do I get my, how can I justify spending money on these games just to review them online? Well, it turns out you don't have to. Which games have I played so far? I've played Middle-earth, I keep calling it Middle-earth Online, Lotro, The Lord of the Rings Online. I've played Star Wars: The Old Republic. I've played Final Fantasy. I've dabbled in a couple of other games. So what my plan is right now is to try all the other free-to-play models, and at some point in the future come up with a video about which has the best free-to-play model. I think there are a few things we need to watch out for. Gated content seems fine to me. All these games allow you to play up to a certain level, and then you either have to buy expansions, you have to buy adventure packs. You need to pay something in order to progress at a certain point. That will always happen with these free-to-play models. But what I found is that you can go an awful long way. You can demo for a long, long time before you have to make that decision, and you can dodge around the payments. Some are more in your face than others, but there are key things that seem to me that are the thing that give free-to-play the bad rap. One is loot boxes, and the way they are presented as something that is really cool, that is just another loot option in a game, and you get a random chance if you unlock it with real world currency, and you get these random items. I think it was really mostly popularized by Overwatch. Was the first time that it really became a thing where you're rolling for random loot, and that can be abused. That is often abused, and I can't think of any reason why these gambling mechanics are in the game. I understand people are adults, and if they want to gamble, they should be able to gamble. I personally don't gamble. I've never gambled, but I have to hold my hands up and say, okay, you're an adult, that's what you want to do. Maybe you find it fun to do this. But from my point of view, particularly how it's marketed to people who don't know that they're gambling, that's the thing. It's a lot of spycraft, whatever you would call it, a lot of veneer to make it seem like it's something that it's not. None of them say it's gambling, and people should be aware of it, particularly kids. And when they're marketing this stuff to people who don't know any better, who haven't realized they're being manipulated, that's where the issue is. That's when it's predatory, because you're taking advantage of people. If you want to gamble in these games and spend inordinate amounts of money on random chance, and it gives you a thrill, okay, you're allowed to do that, but you should know what you're doing, and don't mess with people who don't know what they're doing. Make sure they know. And if it's kids, that should be clearly the case always. The other thing is that when these free-to-play models artificially either slow down the progression of a game, or just make it harder to progress for free-to-play people. I think I'm thinking in terms of time, because there are those gated areas and gated adventure packs and things. That seems fine to me, because the wall is clear there. It's like, you need to pay this money to access this content. It's a binary transaction. I understand it. It's when, again, it's when companies, and they're not being upfront with what they're doing. It's kind of hidden behind. So as a free-to-play player, you are progressing 25% slower than everyone else. Or, it just makes the game really grindy, so that you feel like paying. I think it's when they start messing about with game mechanics in order to get you to pay that it starts to feel, again, nefarious and manipulative. I think it's a lot of the thing that is going on when people get angry about, as consumers. It's not necessarily that someone is trying to extract money from them. I think we're all grown up enough to know that that is what's happening, and we understand when it's appropriate to pay money for a product. It's when it's not upfront, and it's when it's manipulative, that we really get angry. And I think companies could, and a lot of them are, in my experience, having played these games the last few days, a lot of them are mindful of this now. Certainly, it's a lot better than it was when I last dabbled with free-to-play MMOs, but they still need to be really mindful of tricking people. People don't like to be tricked. I don't think people particularly mind spending money, but they don't like being tricked into spending money. And I think that's the factor. So yeah, I'm really, this has unlocked a a lot of stuff for me. If you've been following my channel for a while, you know I play Star Wars Galaxy's Legends, and you know I'm an MMO gamer, but I've always felt a little bit gated from trying stuff out. So free to play for me is really unlocking this, and it's made my current mission, which is to try lots of different MMOs, actually possible. So I'm forced to reassess my opinion of free to play and say, actually, it's pretty good that you can demo all these games. Just be aware of, be mindful of when you're being manipulated, get ready for it, wear your cynic armor, plus 5 defense against cynicism and gaming manipulation, and you'll be okay. And you can actually enjoy a lot of these games free.